Welcome to Reach for the Top, the game in which some of the area's brightest students have an opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge. 24 teams originally entered into our preliminary elimination, and 8 teams have made it to the provincial finals. Now, let's meet today's contestants.
From Tagwi Secondary School in Cornwall, let's meet Alan Coleman, Neil Wheeler, Claude Théret, and Peter Simard, and their coach, Dan Maloney and Gil Boyce. From Nepean High School in Ottawa, let's meet Janice Bernstein, and Ian McLeod, Tom Rourke, Daniel Mayos, and their coach, Peggy Norton. Good day. Welcome to today's game. Welcome, panel. Let's get things going. Some quick questions here. 15 sculptures, some of them 18 feet tall, called The Audience, are being created by Michael Snow for what complex in Allen?
The Toronto Sky Dome.
Correct. How many liters of blood are there in the human body on Neil?
12.
No. How many liters of blood in the human body, Ian?
5.
No. 5.5. Lewis, with Harris, is the largest island with what Scottish group? Neil?
The Hebrides.
Correct. The Outer Hebrides. What weasel's brown fur turns to? Neil?
The Ermine.
Correct. Wilhelm and Jacob were the first names of, Neil?
Grimm brothers.
The Grimm brothers. We're off to a good start. Our judge, Steve Officer. Steve,
hi, Mark.
We're roaring already.
Yes, every game in these quarterfinals has been very close, and I'm sure this will be no exception.
That's right. Nepean and Tagwi have done pretty well in the warm-ups for this.
Well, both came in at with a record of 9-1, so they're well prepared.
And well matched. Let's see how we do following these important messages.
Hello. Looks like you're forever cleaning 2670612.
Panel, good luck to you. The topic is Canadiana. Let's see how we do here. Which former goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens wrote, Neil?
Ken Dryden.
Correct. Who wrote the well-known narrative poem, David, which tells of, Neil?
Earl Burney.
Correct. Which Canadian boxer was never knocked off his feet? Neil?
Tommy Dorsey.
No.
Canadian boxer? Tom?
George Givallo.
Yes, correct. That's right. On to Baroque art. Let's have a look at the monitors and see if we can identify this painting here. This painting was executed by what Flemish master, Neil?
Rubens.
Correct. Peter Paul Rubens, Rape of the Daughters of Leucippus. All right. Rubens was popular with European royalty and decorated the banqueting house in Whitehall, London for what royal English, Neil?
George I.
No.
For what royal English patron? Nepean. Charles I. Eyes. The eyes have it. What letter can be found at the top of an optometrist's eye chart? Neil?
E.
Correct.
What giant creature of Greek mythology? Janice?
Cyclops?
Correct.
Or Polyphemus, if you want to try the other one. Survivor's version of the theme song of the 1982 movie, Tom?
I Have a Tiger.
That's right, the title of the song. Here's a 5-point scramble panel for 5 points in chemistry. What is the making of complex materials from simpler ones? Neil?
Reactions.
No.
The making of complex materials from simpler ones is called? Nepean, Janice?
Catabolism?
No.
Synthesis.
Open.
These are opening up. Anybody can answer. They deal with chemistry. What process occurs when a liquid is boiled? The escaping gas, Tom?
Evaporation.
No.
And the escaping gas is cooled and the liquid condenses. Claude?
Condensation.
No.
Distillation. What process occurs when a liquid substance is boiled away? And Neil?
Condensation.
No.
When it's boiled away and the solid substance remains. Nepean. Janice?
Sublimation.
No.
Vaporization or evaporation. Two liquids having different boiling points are boiled. What term describes the phenomenon in which the liquid with the lower boiling point evaporates first? Neil?
Saturation point.
No.
Nepean. Janice?
Partial boiling point?
No.
Fractional distillation. Words. All the answers begin with night here, N-I-G-H-T. What medium-sized bird catches insects, Neil?
The nightingale.
No.
In flight and produces a booming, Janice.
Nighthawk?
Correct.
What's an informal term for a drink of liquor taken, Neil?
Nightcap.
Correct.
In the southern or western USA, bands of masked, mounted men who carried out, Neil?
The Night Rangers.
No.
Carried out lawless acts of violence for the purpose of intimidation or vengeance were known by? Janice?
Nightmen?
No.
Night Riders. On to the music now. Let's have a listen to this piece. This dramatic work was written by what French composer? Neil?
Debussy.
No.
Nepean?
Ravel?
No.
Paul Dukas. Dukas was noted for his lush... Neil?
The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
No.
Dukas was noted for his lush orchestrations. He composed his work toward, this particular work, toward the end of what century? Nepean. Janice?
18th?
No.
19th, 1897. Walt Disney created a musical animated... Janice?
Mickey Mouse?
No.
Musical animated film in the 1930s and used this composition in the soundtrack. What was the name of the film? Alan?
Fantasia. Anastasia.
Yes.
Fantastic.
In the animation sequences of this film, what famous cartoon character, Neil,
Mickey Mouse.
Correct.
was the Sorcerer's Apprentice? Mathematics is the topic now. We would like you to solve the following. 47 plus 6 minus 5, all of them over 12. Neil?
4.
Correct.
The cube root of 64
4.
No.
times 17. Tom?
34. No.
80 is the answer we're looking for. Might not hurt to listen to the whole question here. 81 divided by 3 plus 15, all over 6. Alan?
7.
Correct.
Tennis. The most famous tennis championship, Alan,
Wimbledon.
No.
in the world was held annually in Wimbledon, England. Name the player, male or female, who holds the record for the greatest number of successive singles championships in the Wimbledon competition. Nepean. Janice.
Bjorn Borg?
No.
Martina Navratilova from 1982 to 87 inclusive. Martina finally lost her Wimbledon title. Neil?
Pam Shriver.
No.
In 1988. Name the current women's champion. Janice.
Steffi Graf?
Correct.
Another famous American woman won a total of 6 Wimbledon. Neil.
Billie Jean King.
Correct.
On to geography. If you're flying west over the Pacific Ocean and cross the international date line, will you fly into yesterday or tomorrow? Neil.
Yesterday.
No.
Janice.
Tomorrow?
Correct.
Okay. Janice says, "Twerk nothing." You've just sighted a penguin. In what hemisphere? Tom.
Southern. Correct.
An atoll is a kind of an island. Neil.
Bikini.
No.
What forms the foundation for atolls? Nepean. Janice.
Coral?
Correct.
There's a small island in the South Atlantic. Tom.
Bikini. No.
Napoleon died there. What is it called? Douglas. Alan.
St. Helena.
Correct.
We would like you to identify the authors of the following works of literature. Ulysses. Who wrote it? Neil.
James Joyce.
Correct.
Earthsea. Neil.
Heyerdahl.
No.
Earthsea. Nepean. Janice.
Ursula Le Guin?
Correct.
The Canterbury Tales. Neil.
Geoffrey Chaucer.
Correct.
The Color Purple. Neil.
Alice Walker.
Correct.
Greek and Roman mythology. Given the following Greek gods or goddesses, state the Roman equivalent god or goddess. Neil.
Right.
Will it come?
Still answer.
False alarm?
Yes.
Okay. Hephaestus. Neil.
Vulcan.
Correct.
Hestia. Neil.
Demeter.
Hestia, the goddess of the earth. Ian.
Vesta.
Correct.
Ares. Neil.
Mars.
Correct.
Artemis. Neil.
Diana.
Franklin and Keewatin are 2 of the 3 districts. Tom.
Mackenzie. Correct.
The 3rd district of the Northwest Territories. The highest recorded tides in the world are found, Tom.
Bay of Fundy. Correct.
Name the author who wrote The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. Neil.
Carson McCullers.
Correct.
What game would I be playing if I made an en passant? Neil.
Bridge.
No.
Nepean. Tom.
Chess. Correct.
What king won the Battle of the Boyne in 16? Neil.
William of Orange.
No.
In 1690.
Time.
William III of Great Britain. William III of Great Britain. We'll take a short break and be back with the assigned questions right after these. Just before we get to the assigned questions, Dan Piccolo, who comes from St. Patrick's High School in Thunder Bay, who's been part of this very busy weekend, has some observations re this. Dan, welcome to Reach for the Top.
Thanks a lot. I'd like to say that this tournament was really fun. You know, you made a lot of interesting meals and people. Sometimes the meals are more interesting than the people, but well, just kidding. Don't worry. Well, I'd like to say that this was a real fun, a real learning experience. I'm going to have a lot of friends all over Ontario now because of it. And I'd like to thank the people who organized this because it was great. And one thing I'd like to say before I go to all the people back home in Thunder Bay, the weather's here and I wish you were beautiful. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. Well, Steve, at the half, where are we?
Tagwi has 220 and Nepean 130.
Okay, on to the assigned questions now, wherein Alan and Janice are pitted against one another. I'm going to name places. You name the provinces in which these places are located. Kitwanga, Clean. Janice.
BC.
That's right, and Kitsilano. Okay, same two people. Let's try a couple more here. If you want to cancel the button there, Steve. Okay. Oso, Orono, and Aurelia. Janice.
Ontario.
You got it. Okay. Neil and Ian. Mira, Mushaboom. Neil?
Quebec.
No.
Mira, Mushaboom, and Malagawach. Where do we find these places, Ian?
Nova Scotia.
Yes, that's where they are. Same two guys, Lamont, Lavoie, and Lacombe. Neil?
Alberta.
Correct.
Yes. Claude, Tom, Alameda, Athabasca, Assiniboia. Claude?
Alberta.
No.
Alameda, Athabasca, Assiniboia. Tom?
Manitoba.
No.
Saskatchewan. Compton, Kamouraska, Kanagani. Tom?
Quebec.
Correct.
All right. Peter, Daniel. Miami, Melita, and Daniel?
Ontario.
No.
Miami, Melita, and Minnedosa. Peter?
New Brunswick.
No.
Manitoba. Passamaquoddy, Petitcodiac, and Pukyuk. Peter?
Newfoundland.
No.
Daniel?
Manitoba.
No.
New Brunswick. On to Canadian artists. Who formed the Modernist Contemporary Arts Society in Quebec and was its first president? Neil?
Krikoff.
No.
Nepean. Ian?
Rio Pell.
No.
John Lyman. In 1940, Alfred Pellin returned to Canada from Paris, where he had been strongly influenced by Picasso and what movement? Neil?
Cubism.
Correct.
What was the document published by the automatistes in Montreal that advocated liberation and rejected anything that would hamper creative spontaneity? Neil?
The Liberalist treaties.
No.
Nepean? The Rufus Global. In reaction, what other group was formed in Montreal by Neil?
The National Arts Society.
What other group was formed in Montreal by Guido Molinari and his associates? Nepean. Janice?
The Conservative Arts Society.
No.
The Plasticiens.
Oh.
Current events. Which islands off Newfoundland are often in the news? Neil?
St. Pierre and Miquelon.
Problems between Canada and France over fishing rights center on a disputed overlapping zone created when both Canada and France extended, Tom?
12-mile limits.
No.
Extended their offshore boundaries from 12 miles to how many miles? Tagwa. Peter?
200.
Correct.
Residents of Saint-Pierre have recently turned against French trawlers. Why? Neil?
Because they felt they were cutting down on the inshore fishing.
No.
Nepean? Tom?
The French trawlers were overfishing and depleting stocks.
Yes.
That's right, not respecting Canadian cod quotas. Physics and astronomy. On the planet Mars, there's a large volcano. What is the name, Tom?
Olympus Mons.
Correct.
How many times higher than Mount Everest is it? Tom?
3 times.
Correct.
There's also a massive rift valley on Mars. What is the name of the rift valley, Neil?
The Grand Canal.
No.
Nepean? What's the name of this?
Time.
Okay, we're looking at the Mariner Valley. What is the characteristic color of Mars? Neil.
Red.
Correct. Here's a what am I question. First clue correctly answered is worth 40 points. I'm not a boxer, but I am a heavyweight. I come, Neil.
An elephant.
No.
I come in two distinct kinds. What am I, Nepean?
Rhinoceros.
40 points. Janice?
Rhinoceros?
No.
When I'm called common, I weigh about 2,000 pounds. When they call me pygmy, I tip the skin. Neil?
Hippopotamus.
Hippopotamus is what we're looking for. 30 points for Tagwa. We're looking at 300 for Tagwa, 200 for Nepean Canadian art. Let's have a look at this painting. This was painted by what member of the group of seven? Neil.
A.Y. Jackson?
Correct. Night Pine Island. Before World War I, Jackson shared a studio with what other artist who died? Neil.
Tom Thompson.
Correct. Let's have a look at another painting. Thompson painted this work before his death in 1917. It's a scene in which famous Neil?
Algonquin Park?
That's
Correct.
the one. Sea Lake Dam. Here's a multiple guess choice question here, panel. You might listen for all three of these choices. The word mulligatawny means an American grape of the southwestern United States, a strong cotton cloth of plain weave, Neil,
Strong cotton cloth?
No.
or a meat soup flavored with curry, Nepean. Janice.
Soup.
Correct.
That's right. Word puzzles. What letter must be added to the beginning of a word meaning busy activity or bustle to create a second word meaning architecturally the part? Neil.
C?
No.
Part of a pedestal between the base and the cornice or cap. What letter are we looking for here? Janice.
T?
No.
No, we're looking for D. You add D to ado and you get dado in a roundabout sort of fashion. Ooh. Maybe this one will be a little easier. What letter must be added to the beginning of a word meaning basis or cause, as for some belief, action, fact, event, etc., to create a second word meaning treachery? Peter.
T.
T. You add a T to reason. You get reason. What letter must be added to the beginning of a word meaning offense to create a second word meaning a small object, part of the Arthurian legend? What letter are we looking for here? Neil.
G.
G. You add a G to rail, and you get grail. Canadiana. Which maritime city has been described as the Warden of the North? Neil.
St. John's.
No.
The Warden of the North. Nepean. Janice.
St. John.
No.
Halifax. Which city located in Burrard Inlet was incorporated? Neil.
St. John.
No.
Was incorporated in 1886. Nepean. Tom.
Vancouver.
Yes. Which city is home to the annual Tulip Festival? Neil.
Ottawa.
Correct.
Okay. European history. The Knights Templar and the Hospitallers both fought in what great cause? Neil.
The Crusades.
Correct.
While fighting the Turks, the Christian battle cry was Deus Volt. What is the meaning of the cry? Neil.
Death to the infidels?
No.
Deus Volt. Nepean. Janice.
God protect us.
No.
God wills it. The Hospitallers were also known by the name of an apostle. Tom.
Knights of St. John.
No.
They still exist today, providing a great community service. What's the name by which we know them? Alan.
Columbus. Knights
No.
of Columbus.
St. John Ambulance. In 1212, the most pathetic of all Christian attempts to kneel.
The Children's Crusade.
Correct.
On to biology. Each answer is a word beginning with the letter A. What is the general term for an organism which can live in the absence of Neil?
Anaerobic.
Correct.
What is the general term for the flowering plants? Neil.
Arterial.
No.
Ian. Tom.
Angiosperms.
You got it. What name is given to the hormones which promote the growth? Neil.
Amino acids?
No.
Which promote? Tom.
Androgens.
No.
Auxins promote the growth of shoots and roots. Auxins. Okay, the score at this point. Tagwi 390, Nepean 230. Scramble for 5 points. For 5 points in U.S. history, what political incident involved the Republican Party's attempt? Neil.
Time.
The Republican Party's, Tom?
Watergate.
That's right, the Watergate affair. These deal with the Watergate scandal, Nepean. In what U.S. election year did this incident occur?
Janice?
71.
No. 72. In which city was the Watergate building located? Still is. Janice?
Washington.
Correct. Who was elevated to the presidency after Richard Nixon was forced to resign? Janice?
Gerald Ford.
Correct. Okay, moving right along. Snappers. To the Snappers to close things off, panel. What team was Hank Aaron playing for when? Neil?
The Atlanta Braves.
What was the name of the joint declaration signed by Winston Churchill and Franklin? Neil?
The Lend-Lease Agreement.
No.
And Franklin Roosevelt on board a battleship in August 1941, Nepean. The Atlantic Charter. Who directed the film Alexander Nevsky, for which he was awarded? Neil?
Sergei Eisenstein.
Name the country where the first Winter Olympics were held. Neil?
Switzerland.
No.
First Winter Olympics. Nepean. Janice?
Norway.
France. Author Edith Wharton lived in France for many years, but what was her nationality? Neil?
American.
Correct.
What is the lowest temperature theoretically possible? Neil?
Absolute zero.
Beginning with a J, this is the name for a person or thing that brings bad luck. Neil?
Jinx.
What is the name of this famous cigar made in Cuba? Neil?
Havana.
This building is used for housing aircraft. Neil?
Hangar.
What is the name of the French national anthem? Neil?
The Marseille.
Marseillaise.
No, that was correct.
We'll
No,
take
it
that.
isn't.
No, it isn't. He said La Marseille.
Oh, sorry. Fine.
Who was the founder of the Society of Friends? Neil?
William Penn.
No.
The Society of Friends, Nepean. George Fox. Which American playwright wrote The Iceman? Tom.
Eugene O'Neill.
Correct.
What medical instrument is used for listening to sounds within Janice?
Stethoscope.
What is the capital of Yugoslavia? Neil?
Trieste.
Tom.
Belgrade.
What is the design of three petal-like parts? Neil?
Australian.
No.
Three petal-like parts used in heraldry. Nepean. Janice?
Fleur-de-lis.
Correct.
Name after Drake's ship. What mountain is the highest? Neil?
The Golden Hind.
What term describes an army unit made up of several companies informing? Whoa, time's up. We'll take a short break, reach for the top. We'll be right back. You guys want to try and be a little more enthusiastic about this? You're slacking right off. How did we end up, Steve?
A high-scoring effort by both teams, with Tagwi coming away with a 470 to 305 win.
Thank you. Congratulations to both teams. Next week, Martin Grove Collegiate Institute from Etobicoke takes on Westdale from Hamilton on Reach for the Top. We hope you'll join us then. Thank you for watching.
This is CHRO-TV, Cable 6.
CHRO-TV, Cable